So this book taught me three really important things which massively changed the way that I study, the way that I revise, and also made a massive difference to my results. Now, I know you're looking at this book. This is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm sure you've heard of it, and you might be looking at it thinking, it looks like he hasn't read this book. And the reason it's brand new is because, for me, one of the team just had it, and it actually inspired me because it reminded me of how I've used so many of the lessons in this to apply to my study to improve it. So I promise you I've read it, and also to give you a bit of a look behind the lens, behind the scenes. Here's my post-it note to remind me of the three things that I wanted to talk about. So the first one is inputs versus outputs. And this book is massively, it talks a lot about if you control the input, i.e. you focus on the things that you can control and what you can put into the process, then the outputs, what comes out of it, will take care of itself. And it actually links quite nicely to another book by a guy called Cal Newport, who's famous for the book Deep Work. But he's got another one called How to Become a Grade A Student. And the brilliant thing that he talks about in like one of the first chapters is this concept of when you're studying, the actual output that you have, what you produce, is a product of the time you spend multiplied by the intensity that you spend at that time. Because it's really important to think about it. It's not just about sitting down absent-mindedly at your desk and kind of just putting in the hours. It's about the intensity that you can do those. So to give you an example, you could do 5 hours at a 2 out of 10 intensity, and that would give you, 5 times 2, that would give you a 10 of amount of work done. But for the same amount of work, you could do 1 hour at a 10 out of 10, and that would also give you a 10. So it's just an illustration and a thought exercise to help you understand that it's not just about the amount of time that you put in, it's how hard you work when you're there doing that time. So the second thing was actually a lesson that kind of was an insight that gave me a bit more relief more than anything about how you make progress, because everyone thinks that when they're learning, the progress is linear. So I put this number of hours in, and yes, a certain intensity as well, but if I put in this much work, then I will make this much improvement. And they expect it to go like that and improve. But actually what he says is that there is what he calls a latent period, that whereas almost a time where you're putting hours in and actually not seeing any progress. And everyone feels that, externally they're not actually getting any results from what they're doing. And that's when a lot of people give up. But he says that this is the critical point where people don't grow linearly like that, they actually grow in steps, or like they have quantum leaps, as he says. And it's really important to bear that in mind, because when people are in that plateau phase where they're putting work in but not really getting anywhere, it helped me realize that really all you're doing there is loading the bases for the next quantum leap to happen. So you're setting the stage for you to make an incremental progress. And this really nice graph, I don't know if you can see it very well on the camera, but this is a fantastic way to illustrate that it's not just a linear improvement. And actually what he says is, instead of it being stepwise, he actually shows an exponential growth. But that can always only be to a certain point, but still a great thing to learn and a fantastic mind frame shift for how you look at these things and how you approach it, but more importantly for motivation to keep going when you are hitting a bit of a rough patch. The final thing is really just the general concept of how you take a habit from being something that you wish to do to really making it an unbreakable regular thing. And really this is the crux of the book, but he starts with saying things like do habit stacking. So let's say you want to do something and you already every day you brush your teeth. So really all you need to do is piggyback on that habit of every day I brush my teeth. Therefore, if I want to say read 10 pages of a book for study, or I want to recite some maths equations to make sure that I don't forget them, is to add them on to the end of the thing that you're already doing. So it just makes it more part of your day than it already is. So everybody, I should hope, brushes their teeth as soon as they wake up. So if you do immediately after, once I have brushed my teeth, I will go and read 10 pages, then it happens automatically, just like brushing your teeth. And then again, it becomes a habit, and very soon it just becomes part of what you do. After a while, the ultimate goal and the pinnacle of this is when a habit becomes part of your identity. So one of the things that actually this book instilled in me is that working out or exercising, going to the gym, going for a run, whatever it is, it's just something that I do every single day. It's not something that I have to think about. It's not something that I have to drag myself to do. At first it was when I was habit stacking after I brushed my teeth. That was the first thing I did. I went to the gym. And it's just got to the stage now where it's just what I do. I don't really think about it. And to the point where if I don't do it, I actually feel a little bit weird. So that's one of those things. And it's only really after I've come through the other end of it and taken the lessons on board and actually applied it to something in my life that is now really part of who I am, that I realized just how valuable that is. So really, it's, if you want to apply that to study, if you're a reader, you want to be a reader. Every day I read. I do 10 pages. It's not something that it's a non-negotiable. It happens, and if I don't do it, I feel weird. Okay, that doesn't mean every single day you do it without fail, but it does mean that most days you are doing it. That is one of those things that it just takes that progress from making it something that you do as part of something else that you do, and then doing it just so many times that it, like I say, it becomes part of your identity. So a fantastic way to apply these principles to study and really just make them automatic so that you don't have to think about them, because at the start they're probably like quite high energy to force yourself to do these things. But then after a while, when they become part of your identity, they're almost second nature, and you don't really have to expend that much energy to do them because you're so used to it and you're kind of integrated it into your daily life.